This is the story of how I created my cozy roguelike card game, Once Upon a Rogue's Tale. Hi everyone! Welcome to my first devlog of Once Upon a Rogue's Tale. I'm Sarah and I'm working on a card game right now with lots of different characters and stories to unfold. So, what's Once Upon a Rogue's Tale? Basically, you write your own fairy tale story. First you choose your main character and go on an adventure. Your story begins as you know it from your childhood, but it won't be long before you have to choose your own path. You will also meet other characters from different fairy tales, so the worlds will start to intertwine. The cool thing is that you don't always have to be the good guy. Will former villains become new friends? Or will you turn the entire fairy tale world against you? Your actions determine the fate of the fairy tale characters and blur the lines between friend and foe. On the gameplay side, we have a classic card battle game enhanced with additional features where you use dice. The dice are very important because they determine how many actions you can play in a turn. The symbols you roll also have a special function, as some actions require special dice results. As a big fan of games like Slay the Spire and Whitefrost, I naturally took some inspiration for the game design. The map structure is kind of similar to Slay the Spire, and various points on the map are also based on it. I also really wanted to have a shop where cards can be bought and destroyed. However, I don't think destroyed is the right word here, because I have a goat that eats the cards you want to remove from your deck. Whitefrost has beautiful cards and card animations, and the overall feel of the game is just great. I want my game to eventually go in the same direction, where it just feels good to play cards and attack enemies. I also want to keep the cuteness factor similar, with no violence or blood. The game should just be fun and enjoyable to play, with cute graphics and a wholesome vibe. What will set my game apart from this game is the dice mechanic. You may know the card game from Genshin Impact. Instead of using mana or action points to limit your actions in a turn, you roll dice. I found this mechanic very interesting because it adds another RNG factor to the game. But in order to make it more of a strategic component, there will always be ways in the game to swap dice or to influence the roll of the dice beforehand. After all, you don't want to really be completely dependent on luck, right? By the way, I have already set up my Steam page, so if you like what you see and think this game might be something for you, you can already add it to your wishlist. Wishlists help a small indie developer like me a lot, so please check out my Steam page. You can find all the important links in the description of this video. You can't have fairy tales without fairy tale books, right? So from the start, I planned to use a book as the central feature of the game. This is where your story is told, bit by bit, and you can control it with your own choices. To make it even more magical, the text and drawings will build up gradually. Each of my 3 main characters will experience their own story, which will be written down in the book. Their stories will be told in 3 chapters. The book will also be fully narrated. I already found the perfect voice actress for a German version, since I'm living in Germany. She sounds like a mother reading a story to her child. Of course, other languages will also be voiced, and I'm currently searching for fitting voice actors. Once the game is finished, the book is finished as well. Of course, it will be saved, so that you can go back and read your own fairy tale over and over again. And that's a good thing, because the story changes with every decision you make and every character you meet along the way. From the beginning, I was pretty sure that the game would have a manga-inspired art style, similar to Genshin Impact. Since manga isn't a coherent style, I tried out different ideas until I found the one that was truly unique to my game. A key part of the design is its cute and appealing nature. That's why I paid special attention to emphasize different body features. For instance, the hands of the figurines are often relatively small, giving them a delicate appearance. The heads and eyes are large to increase the cuteness factor. What do you think of the character concepts? At the beginning of each game, you choose one of 3 playable characters, who I will introduce to you now. Little Red Riding Hood. Inspired by the fairy tale with the same name, I reinvented the character of Little Red Riding Hood. Kill them with kindness was an inspiration for a diplomatic character, but I also made sure to show her as a capable young girl she was described to be. Since she was able to hunt down 2 wolves in her story, I decided to add her to the hunter class. The first attempt of bringing her to life presented a new problem. Her design was too detailed, so I tried to minimize it to make her look slimmer and emphasize her key features. Also, her arrowhead became a heart, reflecting a key part of her character. The Frog Prince. Little Red Riding Hood is the heart of the game, but she wasn't the first design to be completed. The Frog Prince was quickly sketched and drawn as well. Inspired by a cross between a 15th century fairy tale prince and a frog, the character was given a wardrobe that reflects his adorable frog form. Even small details like the pink cheeks draw a link between these 2 sides of the same character, making the connection easy to see. Jack and the Beanstalk. The story of Jack and the Beanstalk is one of the oldest fairy tales in the game. It is assumed that its origin is actually almost 5,000 years ago. In the original, Jack is born into a poor family, but in the game, his family has the money they needed to live a normal life. His clothes are not torn, but they don't look expensive either. His artwork is based on The Alchemist by David Teniers, to reflect the outfits of the villagers at that time. Violet is one of his primary colors to show that he belongs to the witch class. It seems mysterious and magical, which contrasts with the yellow undertones. The world of Once Upon a Rogue's Tale is a combination of many fairy tales and is divided into 3 acts per playthrough. Each act has a different environment, such as a magical forest, a bustling city, an ancient castle, a creepy cave, or giant mountains, each with its own challenges and events. The different paths are also randomly generated, making each playthrough unique and exciting. If you like card games, you might recognize the layout of this map. I took a lot of inspiration from Slay the Spire, as the structure of the map is very clear and straightforward, which I really like. You always know what to expect and feel in control of the progression. This feeling is further enhanced by the events that occur. This is where my game differs from Slay the Spire. Events are one of the most important aspects of the map, next to combat of course. The decisions you make here can affect the entire game. In these events, you meet a wide variety of characters from other fairy tales. For example, you can meet Hansel and Gretel and help them out of the forest, or hand them over to the witch. The rewards include various cards, or even an entirely new playable character for your team. However, you may also get involved in a fight. Combat is perhaps the most important element of my game. I love the combat in Slay the Spire, but of course I wanted to bring in something new. Have you heard of the card game within Genshin Impact? I thought it was very interesting to use dice instead of the typical action points or mana. That's why I really wanted to integrate that into my game. So you roll the dice at the start of each round. The number of dice increases as the game progresses, either through purchases in the shop or special events. Each of my 5 class symbols appears twice on each die. With the extra 2 joker sides, this makes a 12-sided die. In order to use my character's abilities, you need to roll their classes. Little Red Riding Hood, for example, needs a green die for her standard attack. So a bit of luck while rolling the dice is important. If an ability needs a white die, you can just use any die you want. Of course, I don't want to make the battle dependent solely on luck, as that would lack the strategic aspect of a card game too much. So for one, you can always roll a joker icon, which can be used for every class. Then, there are always some abilities that don't require a specific color. And at last, there are the cards in your hand. In addition to the character abilities, you also have the option of playing cards from your hand. Hand cards are of a supporting nature here, which is why I've decided that they cannot deal any damage. However, you shouldn't ignore them, as using them wisely can make most battles easier. Hand cards also cost dice, but they do not require a special color. They can therefore be played using any die you like. By the way, this is what I like to do when playing Little Red Riding Hood. First I play Dad's Bow, hoping for a good effect. And got one. Then I play Take Aim to boost my next attack. And finally, I use her first ability, Arrow Shot, and do a lot of damage in one go. This is just a small glimpse. There will be many more different hand cards with a wide variety of effects. I'm really excited to see what synergies will develop as a result of that. At first glance, some hand cards seem rather unimpressive, like this one. It's quite expensive and spawns something. But trust me, you should use these cards as often as possible, because they are so-called permanent cards. When I play the Golden Harp, it spawns itself on the field and stays there for a certain number of turns. As long as it is on the field, I get its effect each turn. In that case, I get 2 energy per turn, which gives me 2 extra dice, so it's pretty powerful. By the way, the cards are all based on their respective fairy tales, just like the character abilities. I spent a lot of time studying all the fairy tales in detail, writing down important objects, places, characters, and anything else that could be used in the game. It was a lot of work, but I think it was worth it. The Golden Harp is from Jack and the Beanstalk and will be available if you play as Jack. I'm still relatively early in the development of my game, but some of the characters are already fully playable. So I've been able to fight a few rounds and it's really fun so far. I think that's a good sign. However, I've often reached a point where the opponents were far too difficult and I've lost the game several times. Balancing is a really big and important issue, especially with card games, so there will be a big round of testing before release. If you're interested in testing my game, you can subscribe to my channel so you don't miss any future playtest calls. I'm excited to see what I can show you in the next devlog. Is there anything you're particularly interested in? I definitely want to go a little deeper in the development process. That's it for today. I hope you enjoyed my first devlog. Thank you for watching.